Good afternoon, and welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast, formerly the Libertarian Counterpoint podcast. We are again in dealing with a lot of craziness after the election. It's December 11th, 2020, and just seems like the election that 2020 is the year that keeps on giving as far as that stuff goes. But before we get into any of this topics, I want to introduce you to our panel. In our upper left-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. And in our upper right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett, pilot in the state of California. And my name's Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host. By the way, before we start our show, too, I wanted to give a shout out to one of our loyal listeners, Mweseji Jerome Kinjojo in Uganda. We've seen he seems to be sending in quotes or comments rather, and occasionally gets us into an overtime. So we just wanted to say we appreciate you following us. So thanks so much for that. And so let's jump into the show. By the way, too, if you have comments, you can send those to knuckleheads@libertariancounterpoint.com. And if it's something relevant on the show, we can try and get into that in an overtime session. And also, too, if you have experiences of being affected by COVID lockdowns or peaceful protesters destroying your property, or mostly peaceful protesters, or if you're considering leaving California, these are all topics we'd love to hear about and maybe discuss with you on the show. So send those as well to knuckleheads@libertariancounterpoint.com. So let's jump right into the show. Again, we talked about the 2020 election, and it just seems to sort of be the one that never ends because it's hard to know which votes are real and which aren't. So voter fraud, is it a myth or not? Or is this media gaslighting? This is something that, we're hearing if you're sort of in the red camp. There seems to be a lot of instances of irregularities in this election. And if you're in the blue camp, it's like election fraud. What election fraud? We haven't seen any since 2020 when it was Russia, or 2016 rather, when it was Russia. Anyways, but yeah, this is kind of interesting. We talked last show about what's going on in Georgia, and that seems to be still unwinding. To the point where, it does look like it's possible that there was some serious irregularities caught on video where, literally boxes, suitcases of ballots were being dragged out after they falsely told people who were supposed to be monitoring the election to go home because they were done counting. So
and it was reported on Fox News and other channels that they were going to stop counting at 10:30 Eastern time. It was reported. Yeah. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's very interesting, too, because, a lot of the mainstream media, essentially the, Democratic, the Democratic, what do you call it? PR wing, I guess you'd call them. Yeah. Every time you hear the story from them, it's already been debunked, which is kind of weird. It looks like this is something that's probably going to go to court. But anyways, it's interesting. I mean, is this, what's going on? How much of this is real and how much of this is, how much of this Kraken, I guess, is myth? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, if I can start. Oh,
sure.
Go ahead.
Sure.
No,
go ahead.
I'm trying to give you the last word. But,
no, so go ahead. It's fine. Go ahead.
You sure you're going to remember what you're going to say now? Okay.
Yeah, it's cool. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. So, and I have confidence you will remember. So, yeah, I don't really, yes, there's a lot of things that sure sound fishy to me. But in regards to this whole thing that you brought up in the intro, Jason, it reminds me of that scene in The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, when Jim Carrey, the little girl, Lindy Sue Who, walked into his lair, and his first reaction, outside of, what are you doing here? Who are you? He goes, the impudence, the audacity, the unmitigated gall of these Democrats to be talking about this Russian nonsense, which has been debunked, I don't know how many times, and by people, especially in the libertarian movement, that disliked and still dislike Donald Trump. But they're not going to be caught up in this nonsense that was proven. And these people are from the CIA, so they can see it right off the bat. They know what was going on in this disinformation. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Because Jason's frozen. And they had all this wild stuff, like the Russians were influencing these bad old Republicans, these dumb Republicans that didn't know anything better, and they were influencing them. However, when the table is turned on them, it's like, what do they say? They say the impotence, the audacity, the unmitigated gall of these Republicans to challenge this election and to come up with these. In our case, at least we've got some, or not. I shouldn't say our. I mean, in the Republicans' case, at least they've got some credible evidence, and it's not orchestrated from the CIA and the FBI as a deliberate lying campaign because they disliked Donald Trump and didn't think he was going to be good for their whole, their whole reason of existence, which is to wage war all over the world. So anyway, go ahead then, Leon.
The hypocrisy here that is going on is unbelievable. Okay, not related to this issue, but which we'll get to here shortly. But right now, there's a Democrat by the name of Eric Swalwell. He has a little scandal, not a little scandal, maybe a big one too, ongoing right now. He's a member of Congress. He had a relationship with a Chinese spy. And you know what? Eric Swalwell was one of the guys who was on TV constantly telling us about this great Russia collusion between Trump and the Russians.
Yeah.
But now he's quiet about it. Now he don't want to talk about his relationship. And now the Democrats quiet about it, and they don't want to talk about Eric Swalwell's relationship with that woman. And he's on the intelligence committee in the House of Representatives. Talk about hypocrisy that's ongoing here. This is unbelievable. But getting to the issue here, one of the things that the media have been telling us, and they keep telling us, and they keep hammering it home, there is no evidence of widespread fraud. There's no evidence for widespread fraud. In a sense, they are correct. There's no evidence of widespread.
It was a mostly legitimate election, except for the part that wasn't legitimate.
It was a mostly legitimate. Yeah, it was a mostly legitimate election, a mostly secure election, a mostly election of high integrity. The issue is that there are over 3,100 counties in the United States, counties or the equivalents, 3,100. The issues and irregularities that we are seeing, they occurred in about 20 to 25 counties. So there's no evidence of widespread fraud. They're right. They're right. But in those 20 to 25 counties, you look at it and you'll see these are where the irregularities occurred. These are where the concerns are. You could start Fulton County, Georgia, and a couple of counties around that. Philadelphia County in Pennsylvania, and a couple of counties around that. Wayne County, which has Detroit in it. Milwaukee County, and the counties around there. You go look and you check those counties, and Clark County in Nevada. You just check those counties and the counties around. That is where there are problems. That is where we are sure that people voted. We are sure out-of-state people voted. We are sure there are all sorts of things with the signatures on all those ballots that came in. There are signature issues on them. We are sure of these things. But the fascinating thing about all this, the courts wouldn't accept it. And they had a very strong case, I thought, in Nevada. The Trump campaign and the Republicans had a very strong case in Nevada. They put out all sorts of evidence and all kind of stuff and things like that. The court said no. And the Trump campaign is appealing right now, but the court said no. Right now, there's a very big case before the Supreme Court, I don't know what they're going to do with it. We're supposed to hear something today, whether they're going to accept the case or not. Texas sued these 4 counties where irregularities, well, not the counties, they sued the state where the irregularities occurred. So we're going to see what is going to come of that. I don't know if the court will accept it. I don't know, but it's shaping up to be a very big case because Texas filed the lawsuit, and then several other states came in. I think there are about 17 or 18 states now with Texas filed a lawsuit against Pennsylvania, Michigan, Georgia, and Wisconsin. And I don't know what's going to happen with that. But I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but to me, they sound like they have a case. But you know, the Supreme Court will obviously decide differently than I would. But there's something wrong here. Something doesn't smell right. If Joe Biden won this thing fair and square, I mean, I wouldn't like the result, but that's it. But
sure,
something does not sound right here. It does not sound or smell right.
Yeah, so it deserves to be investigated at the
without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about, I mean, fine, if Joe Biden won the election fair and square, Donald Trump has to give up the presidency, no doubt about it. But you're talking about giving up the presidency, okay? This is a big deal. So if he has to give it up, let it be investigated and show us that it was a done deal. It was done fairly and squarely, and I'll be fine with that. But you can't tell me we're seeing all these things, dead people voting, out-of-state people voting. Ballots are counted under very suspicious situations. Look at the situation in Georgia with the ballots taken out from underneath the desk and counting after they said counting was over. You want to tell me we should not investigate these things and we should not find out what was going on in Georgia? Something does not smell right here, and it stinks to high heaven.
Well, speaking of irregularities, sorry, I had a power surge on my end, so everybody go home now, and I'll continue the. I won't continue the show without you guys. I promise. I kind of like what they did in Georgia, I guess, but
I'm telling you, man,
a pipe burst. I swear.
We got to get somebody to investigate you. Oh God, he's frozen again.
Yes, yeah, it did get frozen again.
Oh my goodness, Jason, man, what's going on here?
It's that burst pipe. I swear.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me, that was a leaky toilet. That was it.
The burst pipe became a leak pipe, became a leak.
That's my final story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, that's right.
Until tomorrow, when you have evidence, and then I'll change it again.
Yeah.
Up to now, we can't get a single piece of evidence about this leaking pipe, this burst pipe, or the leaking urinal. We haven't got one single piece of evidence of that yet.
Yeah. Well, and I doubt we will too. If I don't know if you guys got to this point yet or not, but in with the way the media is sort of, it's almost ganging up to promote a certain narrative. Recently YouTube has announced that if you are having any kind of broadcasts that are suggesting widespread voter fraud, they are going to censor you. Now, as far as I'm concerned, they're a private platform, so I think the answer is competition, not necessarily a government law or rule. But that said, this is really disturbing. We have it's almost like some kind of media cartel that has gotten together and deciding this is the information we're going to give the public, and that's all you're going to hear. So
the radio news that I hear leads with this. They don't even mince words about it. They say these phony allegations by the Trump campaign that he won, or that there was fraud, and the rightful president-elect Biden is doing this, that, or the other thing, and they don't even sugarcoat it at all. There's a bias right there. I mean, as long as he's got a snowball's chance in hell of retaining his presidency, And it's happened before, all the way right up to the day. So in January. So, so if as long as he can contest it continually, then hey, you know, it's not a done deal. The fat lady has yet to sing. And
I agree.
So, but that's okay. I don't care, because already the mainstream media is so mistrusted, and with good reason, that you know, if you are swayed by their what's the word, their solidified insistence on this is the way it is, and that's there ain't no question about it. If you are so swayed by that, then you're just too stupid to have an opinion on it.
Right. So and we are so stupid that they will not even let us have the information. I mean, even look at, even going beyond the fraud of the election. Look at what happened with the Hunter Biden story. The New York Post came out with that about 2-3 weeks before the election. They completely shut it down. And now we found out after the election that Hunter Biden is actually under investigation by the Justice Department. Okay, so it's not to say like these people were just pulling this out of the left crease of their anatomy. They actually had evidence that something was wrong with Hunter Biden's dealing in China, in Ukraine, and several other places. Now we find out, well, not only there's something wrong, he's been investigated by our Justice Department. But the media thought we should not know this. Okay, Facebook, Twitter, Google, all of them shut it down. We cannot discuss that, because something we cannot think for ourselves, and we cannot make up our minds for ourselves. They have to do it for us. These people are worse than the government.
And not even that, but the justification they use is that they don't want to interfere in the election. Therefore, they're going to withhold information from us for the election. Isn't that kind of interfering in the election? I mean, I thought we were supposed to, you know, it's up to us as individuals to, you know, kind of process information and try and figure out how trustworthy it is. And that really kind of is a tell about where this, you know, almost this media cartel has gotten to. You know, where they essentially expect us to take their narrative and, you know, not question it, instead of developing the credibility that people will just voluntarily accept the information. So it's like just backwards types of thinking. You know, maybe they're taking their cues from, you know, the public information of North Korea or something. You know, you just tell people what to think instead of, you know, getting their credibility and trust. So I don't know.
You know that, and there's even something a little more curious than this. Now, this is a little bit different, but related. The Justice Department, Bill Barr in particular, knew about the Hunter Biden investigation before the election. Now, he did not disclose it, and I could kind of see why he did not. I mean, he's the Attorney General. He's hired by Trump. I mean, disclosing it may look like they're interfering in the election, which I may understand that. But why does Google and Facebook and all of these people think they have the right to stop us from hearing information and stop us from thinking for ourselves and stop us from making up our own minds? That I can't understand. I cannot, and will never.
Well, speaking of Hunter Biden, you know, since you brought that up, that kind of helps me to segue into another topic. You know, we've been focused with the Democrats on the 2020 election or the 2016 election rather, for over 4 years, about Russia, and illegitimate president and all these things. And you know, the Democrats now finally seem to have a little bit more focus for other things. They're starting to chill out, and they want to look into legalization of weed, or marijuana across the country. And you know, this is actually, you know, a substantive topic. I mean, there's you know, especially for libertarians, you know, most of us feel that, you know, you should have sovereignty over your own body, and that should be your choice what you want to do with these things. But I don't know. It's almost kind of a refreshing thing to see that the Democrats are starting to talk about other things than Trump and Russia. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I mean,
go ahead,
where the legalization of weed is concerned, I mean, I don't see any problem with that. I mean, you're right. We should have sovereignties over our own bodies, and I think I would like to see more of that philosophy being spread through the land. And even though that does raise a very good issue for me, which is the issue of abortion, which we spoke about before, and I hope we'll talk about again, about sovereignties over our bodies. But I don't have a problem with them. I mean, it's with them trying to do this, but it's just this madness about this Donald Trump and the Trump derangement syndrome. Everything is Trump did this and Trump did that, and they could never see any of the wrong things that they've been doing. The Russia hoax, the impeachment hoax, the blaming Trump for the 275,000 Americans who have died because of the COVID and all this nonsense. Those sort of things really get to me in a bad way. But legalizing marijuana, I mean, I don't see that as a big issue, quite frankly. I think it should be legal. It should be legal in the first case. I mean, what we put, if we're stupid enough to put certain things in our body, then that's our choice.
Yeah, I agree with the effort to take marijuana off the Schedule I list of controlled substances, and it doesn't belong there at all, and never has. And I think if that's all it did, and then opened legalization up to the states individually, where it belongs, and then
sure.
Let's see what happens then. But this whole thing has a lot of repercussions. This thing about the federal government having it listed as Schedule I and also illegal. So what it has issues when you go to purchase a firearm, for example, and you may partake in a legal substance that grows out of the ground in your state and legally, but because it's against the federal regulations, you cannot legally purchase a firearm in that state that requires you to fill out that form, which I think is all 50 of them. Actually, it's a federal form, so yeah, it's all 50. So so again, it just causes a lot of issues for absolutely no reason whatsoever, and it's been a long time coming, but it's been coming. And it's the same thing that happened during Prohibition and the aftermath of Prohibition, where the only thing that prompted the federal government to give up on the fool's errand they got themselves into with making alcohol illegal was when the states simply stopped enforcing the laws. I mean, this is the way the states the only way really that they can keep what little power they've kept for themselves, instead of just giving it up when they get paid by the federal government in the federal grants they get. So the only way is for the states to just not do what the bidding of the federal government, if they don't want to do it. And so this is one thing, a good step. What it looks like it's doing is forcing the federal government to stop the prohibition on this substance that grows out of the ground, put there by God Almighty.
Well, we have Knucklehead for you. So okay, I'll shut up. So go ahead, Jason.
Okay, well, we're getting near the end of the show, and that sound is that it's time for our Knucklehead Noise Patrol. So, and that's where we try and talk about something silly that a politician or somebody in the media might have said recently that just lets us end on kind of a nonsensical note. And this week's topic, once again, that nonsense is coming from Joe Biden. Which I think we're going to get tired of saying that. It used to be AOC was the front runner in this.
I tell you, if this man ascends the presidency, we're going to have a lot of material over the next how many years he's going to be president. Believe me.
Which may not be long, depending upon how long Kamal is willing to wait, I guess.
Well, it'll be the first disagreement he has with the vice president.
Exactly. Then he'll just say he has a mental illness and he'll walk away. That's what he said in our last. And that's what he said on CNN.
Yeah, we discovered that in the last Knucklehead Noise Patrol.
Yes. So anyways, on this one, it had to do with his appointment of Javier Becerra. Apparently as he announced it, he not only did he get the particular appointment wrong, what he was appointing him to, but he got his name wrong. He's for Secretary of Health and Education Services. So apparently there's a new cabinet position, or maybe they're merging two. I'm not sure. But he said, for Secretary of Health and Education Services, I nominate Javiera Becerra. Or Becerra. And he said he mispronounced it, and then about within a minute, I think within about 30 seconds, he got it right. So somebody must have told him that he's appointing somebody who's not there. The position, but it also too though, this is kind of an interesting appointment because Javiera but Becerra, not Becerra. We haven't been able to locate him yet. Javier Becerra, he was the Attorney General here in California. And so one of his notable accomplishments is that he wound up going after Gatorade for having a video game that featured Usain Bolt, and it was apparently trying to avoid water and run to Gatorade during the video game. And so he sued Gatorade for essentially, he called it false advertising, trying to convince the public that water was bad for you. So this is the kind of thing that'll be a priority when he gets his appointment. You guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, you can see why Biden, with his demented mind, would have appointed this man to Health and Human Services, not Health and Education Services, Health and Human Services, which he actually did. But this demented man is going to take over the presidency, and he's going to lead us to our new utopia. Believe me, it's going to happen. Watch and see.
Any parting shots for our Screaming Eagle?
I'm having some audio issues, so I didn't really hear what Leon said. But
okay.
I'm sure it was. I'll have to watch it on the rerun.
Okay. Well, that said, we're close to the end, so we'll cut now so Tim can get to his rerun. And if you want to more of those reruns too, you can catch those at libertariancounterpoint.com or at Facebook on Libertarian Counterpoint. And by the way, it's possible that our next show, for those of you who listen live, we've been doing them on Fridays for a while. Our next show, it's possible that may shift to Wednesday afternoons around noon. And that has to do with scheduling, trying to get shows ready for public access in time. So those air on Monday, by the way, if you're interested in those in Sacramento. But otherwise, we thank you for joining us on the show, and we look forward to you joining us for the next one. Thanks so much, and have a good weekend.